Welcome to this latest episode of the Cybernaut Club podcast. We're very happy to have you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that thumbs up button and the little alarm bell. Let's do this thing. Okay, so today we have Jane Berwick. Jane spent most of her formative years living abroad, building her career as an adult learning professional outside of her home country of Canada. What was supposed to be a one-year stint teaching English to adults in Japan then turned into a 15-year journey and a career spanning multiple cities around Asia, and now in the UK. Jane has worked in many diverse settings, from corporate environments in learning and development to start-offs, not-for-profits, and luxury travel, heading up large and small-scale training programs for adults. Jane is very passionate about adult education. Initially wanting to pursue graduate studies in linguistics, Jane found her calling in adult education. Jane studied professional identity formation in cross-cultural contexts for her graduate research, a topic that continues to fascinate her to this very day. Jane currently lives in London and is the creator of an exciting app-based membership community, the Adult Learning Hub. This is exclusively for adult educators and practitioners looking to navigate their way through the new world of work together more confidently. Let's see what Jane has to say. Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I was like, oh my God, has she forgotten?
No, I'm so sorry to be a bit late. I had to go back into my emails to get the link.
Okay, yeah.
So I got it. Yeah. Sorry to be late.
How very dare you? I mean, you know what British people are like. They like to be on time, don't they?
I know. And in classic Canadian style, I'm like, sorry. Well, I should apologize. I should.
No, it's fine. I'm joking. It's cool. Nice. So are you working from home currently?
I am working from home, yes.
Yeah, and this is a really nice background that you've got here. Is it doors or is it a room divider?
It's a room divider.
I love those. I'm so jealous of that. Like, I really like one.
You know what? I got it on Amazon for like 40 quid.
Wow.
And because I felt like just the blurry backgrounds were just too much for me. I was like, I can't do it.
This is the first time that
I've embraced it.
Only today. Like normally I use this. Wait till you see this. Normally I use this. But I've got new headphones, so I have this issue.
Brilliant.
So I'm going for this. I'm going for the blur until I've had a sign made with that purple background. So I'm going to have that up here behind me. I'm waiting for that to be delivered, and I thought I can't have those two massive holes.
It just looks like a really cool headset. I don't know, something from outer space.
I know. Yeah, I mean, they're brand new, these, because I kept having loads of issues with I had these ones. They kept running out of battery, and then I had another pair that had like a connectivity issue, and I thought, right, forget it. I'm just gonna spring for whatever Joe Rogan uses. I'm getting those. Like, he's the number one podcaster in the world. So right. I got Joe Rogan's headset. So
amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
They sound good as well. Really nice.
I've just started to connect. I have Jaybird earbuds. I don't know if you've heard of Jaybird. Jaybirds are also excellent. But I find with computer connectivity, sometimes they cut in and out a little bit.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. I like them for working out and stuff like that. It's just easier. Also, when I'm in Sainsbury's, I can have my own little soundtrack going on.
Your own little world. If I had my own little soundtrack, it would be like I don't know, spy music or something like dead weird. Have you ever seen that episode of Family Guy where Peter has his own theme tune?
I wish I had my own theme music.
Done. Get up, try it out.
Sweet.
And he's like, like wherever he goes, he's got this. Yeah.
I haven't seen that one. I do like a bit of Family Guy though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Family
I like
Guy's
the
cool.
episode where he's like, what is it? Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Roadhouse.
Have you
Yeah,
seen that one?
Roadhouse.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was thinking the other day, when I'm at work, if I wear a specific pair of boots, because when it's cold out, I have these like winter boots, and when I'm in certain classrooms, I get like static electric shocks anytime I touch my laptop or anytime I touch like the TV on the wall, and that reminds me of that episode where Peter finds these red pajamas and he puts them on, and then he's like, no, like he gets the electric power, and then he goes,
Yes.
I am Jesus. Like he thinks he's like the son of God because he can electrocute people.
Ah! What the hell was that? Ah! Oh my God. Lois, don't get alarmed, but I think I might be Jesus.
So he just spends the whole episode electrocuting his kids.
I love it. I love it. Family Guy's good. And I keep forgetting to watching Family Guy, there's that whole orchestra behind the animation, and you forget that there's people who are actually producing that sound and that music. And it just makes it all the more brilliant to me. Like you see the animation and you're like, ha ha ha, it's so cute, it's so funny. But there's a whole powerhouse behind his thinking and the whole team of people that are creating that experience. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, there's like it's come a long way. Like from the first few seasons, the animation was quite rough. That's one of the things that I'm teaching right now is an animation module. So when
interesting.
So we're looking at like the evolution of animation and different animation types, and we were specifically comparing old episodes of Family Guy to the new episodes. And the technical advances are just amazing. They have like 3D elements now and like a whole sort of 3D environment that the characters walk through. It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, you can see the differences, can't you, between the old stuff and the newer stuff?
Yeah,
and especially the topics that they discuss, and the language that they use, I think has changed significantly. Yeah, we're much more woke. It's much more woke than it was way back in the day.
Speaking of woke, so you're from Canada, the most woke place on the planet, apart from like Los Angeles, right? From California.
Well, we've legalized cannabis now, so
that's I guess that's pretty cool. I think life.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that.
I don't know. I think that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's not like we're not Elon Musk sat opposite each other getting high. Like it's not like our stock isn't going to take a dive just because we mentioned the word. So whereabouts in Canada are you from?
So I'm from Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay.
So it's Western Canada, and it's known for like huge in oil production. Rocky Mountains, like the famous sort of like Banff and Jasper mountain towns. A lot of like celebrities go to stay there for their like winter getaways.
You're my second Canadian from that area.
Really?
Yeah.
Good place.
Yeah.
It's a good place.
First female Canadian though. So that's something, I guess.
Yay.
So you live in London now, right?
Live in London, yeah. My husband is British.
Yeah.
We met in Shanghai, China, of all places, as one does. And we're both living and working out there.
And how long have you been married?
We've been married for almost 4 years, so it will be 4 years come June.
Yeah, so still quite new then. Like,
yeah. So still kind of in that honeymoon. Yeah, it's still exciting. It hasn't gotten boring yet. That is for sure. But we met in Shanghai, China. We were both living and working out there. Met at a mutual friend's birthday party. He's an engineer. I at the time was in learning and development, so doing staff training for a larger English company. And we just really hit it off. The whole night I was thinking like, okay, any sort of game that we're going to play, you're going to be my partner. And, if I spotted him from across the room, I was like, right, beeline, because I know I would have a good time.
So was there like an instant, was it love at first sight, like an instant reaction? Like you just thought that guy, like, I want that guy, like he's mine. Pretty
much. What was actually really cool is that he said he could feel my presence even before he spoke to me. And I was like, I didn't know that I emulated some kind of like vibration out into the universe. And
that's weird, isn't it? Because it's like almost maybe the time and the place and the things that would have had to have happened for the two of you to meet in that particular place. Just think of like that journey from you coming from Canada, him coming from the UK, and you both meeting in Asia. Like, and then to feel each other, it was like your souls found like the other half of itself, straight away.
I feel like you were there the way you're talking about it. But what was really cool actually is that we connected on so many different levels. We had very similar interests, like both of us being musicians. I sing and he plays guitar and drums. He's been in a few different bands over the years, and we both love to cook as well. So I just remember him talking about reducing his pizza sauces that night. And I was like, right, you got me hook, line, and sinker.
you people don't reduce sauces enough. Like he's right about this. Like it enhances the flavor, to have a very rich reduced sauce. Yeah. He knows.
Yeah. And I also think too, there's something special about waiting and being patient about the food that you're preparing. And I think there's something special about reducing sauces. It's a conscious kind of slow burn, it's the longer you wait, the better it becomes.
Ooh, now I'm starting to think like maybe that was a line, because like he's making you think of delayed gratification, stuff like that.
Maybe that was it. Maybe he's used that on other women. I might have to talk to him actually after this.
You need to get to the bottom of this, Jane.
I know. I'll make sure to ask him.
So how long were you over in Shanghai and Asia, and did you go anywhere else when you were over there?
Yeah, so I can't believe it now, actually, when I think about it. I was over in Asia, first in Japan and then in China for over 13 years. Initially, I was just going to teach English like many Westerners do. I was going to teach for a year. I finished my psychology degree in Canada, and I was like, right, all my friends at the time were getting married and having babies, and I was thinking like, oh, I want to have adventures instead. And I wasn't quite ready to kind of go on to any formal grad schooling. I was like, I want to get into a different culture. I wanted to work also. I wanted to get a bit of an income, but also travel. So I got this opportunity to teach with a larger English company in Osaka, Japan. And absolutely loved it. I spent a couple of years there and met some amazing people, had some students. I had one adult student who was like 80 years old. And I was like, what are you doing coming to learn English from me? This like white Western female with curves who had no teaching experience, nor any kind of formal qualifications in teaching English, except for that basic kind of TESOL certificate.
Yeah.
And it was actually there that my kind of love of like adult education and learning really started to take shape, because I was just in a room full of all these amazing, wonderful people who wanted to learn English. And I thought there was something really special about that.
So initially the students that you had, were they all adults?
They were adults. Yeah. I had some classes with their children who would come to the center. It was like the private English center. So that was also a really good experience, but man, I learned that for me teaching kids at the time, I would do it. It was part of my job, but for me, the real learning was the interaction that I had with the adult students. I just thought it was so fascinating. Students who were 3 times my age, had so much more experience than I did at the time this was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And all coming to study English. And I just thought like, wow, who am I that you would want to learn something from me? And what do I have to offer? And I just thought I was taking on this new identity that I never had before. And all of a sudden I was assuming it in a foreign country. Like, what was that about?
So it sounds like you, like you made it. Obviously you were good enough because you were given the job, but then you had like that little bit of imposter syndrome on top of that. And then the added pressure of being abroad as well. So that must have been all, really exciting and like complicated for like a 20-odd-year-old young woman to do, especially so far away from home as well.
Yeah.
So so you preferred teaching and interacting with the adults, like, you know, is that because, are you like, what's your kind of personality like? Do you prefer you know, hanging out with people your own age, or was it with the kids just like grossing you out? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? You know, like what sort of how would you describe yourself?
I think there's a few things there. I think
we can unpack it. We can.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. Like, I think initially, as I was saying, you know, I had to kind of take on this identity that I had never assumed back in my home country of Canada. I had just finished a psychology degree, and I just knew that I wanted to get some work experience abroad. And I think initially I felt like I had to be kind of extroverted, and I felt like I had to be the sort of source of knowledge, even though I felt like I wasn't. I felt like I had to relay information to my students. And I think that's a really tricky thing when you first start teaching adults, is you do go through a kind of journey where you're assuming an identity, you're negotiating an identity with yourself, whether you're aware of it or not. And sometimes, I remember initially, I think I was really quick to attribute my failings to my own inconsistencies or my own lack of knowledge, when really it was me navigating this context of teaching adults, assuming a new identity with very little experience. And so I think through that process of teaching and learning and living in a foreign country, being a foreigner, a Canadian living in Asia, what was that all about? I think through that whole process, I came definitely to learn about myself more, and learn, actually, surprisingly, that I'm an introvert. And
okay,
that's one thing that people often, I think, get wrong about me, is they think that I'm extroverted. But I like to think that I'm an outgoing introvert. I'm an outgoing introvert. Like, I love chatting with people. I love connecting with others. But I draw my energy from being alone or having some solitary time.
Right. Yeah, that's something that Joyce and I were talking about in the last episode. We covered that exact thing. That
interesting.
That we both like, Joyce described herself as an extroverted introvert. And
yes, I've said the same thing.
Yeah, and I can totally relate to that. And we talked about having to, having the ability to be able to confidently communicate with groups of people or individuals, but then, and coming across as being an extrovert, but then also needing that, like, that man cave, or, that space to go back to re-energize, or woman cave, person cave, non-gendered cave.
I was going to say.
Yeah, just like having that space to go back to kind of relax and breathe and regain your sort of sense of equilibrium before you can tackle the next task. So totally get what you're saying there.
And I think too that it's hard when teachers first start out in their careers, whether they're teaching children or adults, but in my case, it's hard to give ourselves permission to know that it's okay to be an introvert and know how to leverage that while still teaching adults. I think initially I just felt like I had to talk all the time. I had to be extra outgoing. When later in my career, when I kind of moved into learning and development and staff training and facilitation of training, I started to really look at, okay, knowing that I'm an introvert, how can I really work within my strengths, but also get the best out of my learners? And also too, knowing that some of my learners themselves were also introverts. So always having times in any sort of training session to have activities where they could sit with themselves and reflect, or do an activity that required some time out from the rest of the group. So there's more of us around than you think, it's quite interesting. I've been reading a lot lately from Susan Cain. She wrote a book about the quiet revolution, the power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking. I think that's the name of the book.
Okay.
And she said, we live in an extroverted world, and how introverts actually have a lot of strengths and a lot of things that they can bring to the workplace that we often don't talk about.
Yeah, this is also like the, there's an issue, isn't there, with confidence and not only extroversion, but introverted people might be incredibly talented and really, really good at something, but because they're not as loud as an extrovert who may not be as good as them, they kind of miss opportunities. And I guess the most extreme version of that would be Donald Trump is like the loudest extrovert, isn't he? I guess who would like kind of, you know, perhaps not be as qualified as other people for a particular role, but then end up getting it because he's got the loudest voice. So yeah, it's a tough balancing act to kind of make yourself known, but then being an introvert, maybe you're afraid of coming across as being arrogant or egotistical.
Yeah.
Whereas like other people might not have that pressure, they don't have those thoughts, and they just go for it, and it's kind of tricky.
And also too, in our workplaces, giving each other permission to be ourselves, whether that's, you know, being an extrovert or an introvert. Like I remember previously to COVID, I was working in luxury travel. So doing staff training in a luxury travel kind of commercial environment.
Yeah.
And the team that I worked on, we started doing what's called employee user manuals. So we created a series of questions that we would ask ourselves and just put it down in kind of a Word document and pass it around to our team. And it was all questions related to how you work, how you like to receive information, how you learn best, what's your communication style. And that would get passed around to different members. So we automatically knew, okay, this person is more introverted or extroverted. So if they need to kind of go away and work for a while on a project, I'm not going to take it personally or think that they're trying to separate themselves from the rest of the team. But what was wonderful about this kind of user manual is that it gave us permission to be ourselves, but also know how to work better with each other. And I think there's great learning in that. And I think we forget that, you know, we should be in places where we can leverage our strengths, but also make sure that our colleagues know us at the same time too.
Yeah, I think that takes a long time. Like I always find that the first sort of 3 to 4 months, and although it might not be apparent to anybody else, I'm super on guard about everything that I do, like when I go into a new workplace. And then as time goes on, as I start to get to know people and I feel more comfortable with them, then my personality comes out, and whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. That's up to them. It might be.
But isn't it interesting though? You know, we feel like, and in any new situation, we have to assume some kind of identity or like some sort of way of being that maybe we're not used to, or we feel like we feel a sense of like obligation, like we have to do it. And then it's only after a certain time that it's like, oh, we feel like we can be ourselves. But I just think like, what if we could do that right at the beginning? Some kind of user manual. Yeah.
I hope what you're experiencing is the real me, because that's what I try to do on the podcast. And I always feel just jumping in, I'm my most self here, like, because I'm in my office, I'm in my house, you know, and I'm we've never met before, but we've got great banter, you know, good chemistry. Shh, don't tell the husband and wife, like, you know,
I won't tell him.
No. My wife watches my shows, so I have to behave. But so yeah, it's kind of like you can be on guard, and it's a shame. And I wonder why that is. Whether it's because we want to make a good impression, we want to be in line with what's in our CV, basically what we've sold the company as ourselves, and we want people to think good of us in that situation, probably more than anywhere else. I think that's the old, you know, the internal pressure there.
And I wonder too if it's trying to reduce that sort of cognitive dissonance that we experience. You know, we're in a new environment and we're trying to prove ourselves, and we're trying to assume a kind of identity in front of a group of people. And so I wonder if that's a way of us trying to cope. It's like a coping mechanism in a way.
Because we're like, effectively, depending on the size of the office, you are joining a new family that might already be pre-formed, and you have to find your place in there. And it's not like you're a chimp and you can just go up and bop the biggest chimp on the head. You know, it's not like you can't just walk in and be like, I'm the alpha now. You have to kind of like take rank and see, you know, what's what the situation is. It's tricky.
It is tricky. And now also too, when we're in this new world of work, where some of us are going back into the office, but then also working from home, 50-50 or however our location is divided. And then some of us are fully working from home still, like myself.
And have you always worked from home? Because are you you're the creator? Is it you're the full creator of let me get the name right. Sorry, 1 second. Oh, okay, pressure.
The Adult Learning Hub. I'll help you out.
No, I've got it. Yes. So before this, I already did like the intro. So and it only took me 2 takes, I think. So I think we're good. But yeah, I said basically Jane currently lives in London and is the creator of an exciting app-based membership community, the Adult Learning Hub.
Love it.
Can you tell us a bit about the Adult Learning Hub?
Well, we were talking about kind of working in an office, working from home, and I feel like one of the reasons I created the Adult Learning Hub was so that educators of adults could more confidently navigate this kind of new world of work that we find ourselves in. So I'm an adult educator. My background is in adult education. I studied it part-time when I was working in China and absolutely loved the program. I had an advisor back in Canada who was just so helpful. She was one of these kind of transformative teachers in my life who really helped me find my feet in the world of adult learning and really give myself a name as an educator of adults. But when I graduated from the program and I went back to kind of my work context in China, no one else who I worked with had studied adult ed formally as a field. Many had qualifications in like ESL or learning and development or other sort of ed tech, perhaps qualifications. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, who is my tribe? Like, who are the other educators of adults who are really immersed in andragogy, sort of the science, the art of adult learning. And I wanted to kind of keep my skills sharp. And I really wanted to, better be able to keep myself upskilled. And also at the time too, I was attending a few different conferences and webinars, and I just felt like, some of the professional development circles that I belonged to didn't really seem to satisfy this kind of growing curiosity that I had in shaping my practice and identity as sort of an adult education practitioner. And so the idea of the hub has been brewing for a number of years. And when I moved to the UK about 5 years ago, I worked in a few different sectors, in the charity sector, luxury travel, as I mentioned, but still this kind of curiosity in adult learning was just always there. And so I thought, okay, if I can't get it in one-off training sessions, I can't get this kind of development in webinars or conferences that I was attending, I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to create a community. I'm going to do it myself because that's what I'm hungry for. That's what I'm thirsty for. And I thought there's also people who are like me out there, I'm pretty sure. So I did a bit of research. Definitely. I did a bit of market research in advance, sent out some surveys to my network to see, hey, could this be a thing? Is this something that people would be interested in, a community of educators, of adults, a global community also too, not just based in the UK or not just based in my home country of Canada or China or other places, but a global network.
And for those adults, is it any particular topic? So you're building a community of educators who educate adults, and so that could include any topic whatsoever. So you're more about building that space for that niche group of professionals where they can get together and share their best practices. Is that the purpose of it?
Exactly. So I think there's a call for this type of community now more than ever, because we're all in the same boat of navigating this new world of work, and we need to be agile. We need to be even more confident than we ever have before. And we also need to be aware, I think, of how we come across online, our personal sort of branding. And I think there's new skills that we need that we didn't need before prior to COVID. And so in the Adult Learning Hub right now, for example, I have a gentleman who's based in Australia, and he works with ex-prisoners who are coming out of the prison system in Australia. And he facilitates their sort of personal development and gives them some confidence with their career building and facilitating better relationships with friends and family. And I also have a woman who's been a trainer for over 20 years. And she wanted to get in the hub because she saw kind of value in networking and learning with other kind of like-minded practitioners who also facilitate the learning of adults. So what we do in the hub really is every month we have a theme that we focus on, which ladders up to our big purpose of navigating a new world of work. So I send out reflective questions. We have a bi-monthly members meeting to talk about an aspect of that topic. We have sort of successes and shout outs on a Friday. I send out academic articles for them to read and reflect on together. And the idea is that the year in the life of a member of the Adult Learning Hub is all about moving up in our confidence with new skills and knowledge that we need to be more confident in this changing world of work.
so you're going to see, hopefully by going through that process, becoming a member of the Adult Learning Hub, you're going to see, a difference in yourself as an educator from one year to the next.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm passionate about taking people on a journey.
Yeah.
And it's not just me pushing content to them, but it's providing a space and a platform to build better habits and to have conversations that they just can't have on social media or public platforms, and really go into depth on topics that are important to them.
So how many members do you currently have? Do you know? We
have almost 40 members now, which is really exciting. So it's growing every week. And I'm so pleased with the people who are coming on board. It's a really vibrant environment.
Yeah, and it was it was Joyce who told me about it. And she was really keen to get the word out there, and she had had loads and loads of praise, and she said that you were amazing. And honestly, she's not lied, like she's not let me down. So getting back to like that journey of growth, like how different do you think you are? You've been going through this journey for 5 years now. So what have you learned along that way, in particular, like the last 12 months since we've had this COVID thing?
Well, prior to starting the Adult Learning Hub, or really formally putting the wheels in motion for this kind of community, I worked in a few different sectors, as I've kind of told you about. And during COVID, I was actually made redundant twice.
Wow.
And and at the time, I was just thinking, okay, what's my value? What's the impact that I want to make? And instead of letting myself really get frustrated and get down, I was down for a period of time. You go through that when you experience something terrible. You do go through that, like, panic.
I kind of I went through that once, and it was it made me question everything. That's not something that I would wish on anybody.
I know. And I was so used to working for bigger companies and smaller companies, having that regular paycheck come in every month, and all of a sudden I was like, right, circumstances are beyond my control. What can I possibly do? And it really catapulted me into putting the wheels in motion for the Adult Learning Hub. And I took a course in community design, community curation. And so with my background in adult ed and then taking this community design course, I felt even more empowered to put a formal structure in place to put this community together.
That sounds like a challenge that you had that could have crushed you. Like, you could have potentially spiraled and gone, what do I do? And it could have got worse from there, but you didn't. Like, that's admirable. You picked yourself up and you said, right, I've got this idea, let's make this happen instead. Like, hats off to you for that.
And it's scary because coming from also an education kind of background, learning background, putting on a new hat of being a business person, being an entrepreneur, and looking at how those two identities inform each other, and how I can use my background in adult ed to do better, hopefully in my business. I was speaking to someone recently who was also an entrepreneur and had a similar background to mine, and she helps people design courses, helps companies design courses. And she was saying actually adult educators have a unique, what did she say now? She said, she said that they're positioned in a really powerful way to start their own businesses because we're highly self-directed. We take charge of our own learning. We often know how to leverage the resources that we need in order to achieve a certain outcome. And, Paul, I see you probably, being someone like that as well. Obviously, you work with adult learners and you seem, and you're very, you seem very entrepreneurial as well. And I think we are positioned in a unique way to sort of carve out our unique corner of the world.
Yeah, I do try. Like, I don't know. It's like my experience of teaching adults when I started off. I really felt very insecure, and I was kind of much the same way that you were. I was thinking like, oh, these people, like, they're older than me. It's like, how am I meant to, convey this knowledge to them in a way where they're going to take me seriously? The first time that happened, I was teaching project management to second year honors degree students, and there was a couple of guys in there who I'm good friends with now, like shout out to Paul McCherry and Nick Rothery. But like they were older, they were like, dads, like they were like my dad's age. And I was thinking, oh man, I'm really gonna have to up my game. I'm gonna have to make sure that my classes are prepped. If anything, it made me a better teacher because I was kind of thinking, I have to be ready for whatever they're going to ask me. And I know that those two guys are going to ask me more questions than anybody else because they're older and they've got the confidence to do that. So in a way, that made me a better teacher. The second time I taught a group of adults was for an evening class, and I was teaching them Photoshop. And that was cool because they really didn't have the skills that I had. So that, again, I was able to start from scratch, and that helped me to build my confidence doing that. And I actually got a part-time job from one of those people who her father owned like a coin and jewelry like company.
Wow.
And they wanted somebody to Photoshop the coins for them. So like I think when you're teaching children, not a lot of opportunities come your way. But when you're teaching adults, you don't know who it is that you're teaching, and you might get offered like a part-time role or a connection, or it's an opportunity for networking as well. And I think that's like a huge amount of value comes from teaching adults because they've already got things going on that you potentially could be a part of.
That's right. And I think also too, for educators of adults who are just starting out, it is so important to know the value of networking, the value of connecting with peers who are like you, to say, hey, are you going through the same thing that I am? What helps you? What works for you? Because that in itself, is adult learning. We think sometimes that adult education takes place in a particular context or particular institution or a particular group of people, but actually adult learning is happening everywhere. And there's some of us who are tasked formally with facilitating that learning, whether you're in a company or an academic institution or college professor, instructor, or you work in a community setting. But yeah, the value of networking and sharing best practice is so important, but you need to do it regularly. I'm quite an advocate of building those habits into our schedules on a regular basis, so it becomes a part of what you do, and a part of building your practice is networking.
Yeah, and like now teaching adults, I have adults that I teach on like access and degree level, and I've got no problem communicating with them. And I always remember if there is somebody who's slightly older than me and I get that same niggle of fear again, I just go, dude, you're 40 now. Like, it's okay. Like, you're a dad now. You're okay. You're an adult too. Like, you can teach this guy. Don't worry about it. So, I have I have a talk with myself, and then confidence comes back and I'm okay. So that's a resource that I have a word with myself.
Yes.
But so what are the most helpful resources that that have helped you along the way in creating this business, and what resources are useful for your members?
So resources, do you mean like in terms of my own development?
Yeah.
Well, networking is a huge one. Over the years also too, I've been so fortunate to have a very select few of critical friends. So
they're the best, aren't they?
They're the best. And some people think like, what, you have a friend who sits and is like slamming you, who is like negative towards you? And I'm like, no, that's not what a critical friend is.
No, it's how they deliver it. Like the reason I've gone from the purple background to this is because of my newest friend and former Cybernaut Club guest, Patrick Grossman, sent me a lovely little voicemail saying, "Hey brother, the gaps between your headphones look weird. Like, you should maybe get a sign." So, he's a critical friend.
Yeah, and critical friends, like, they're honest with you.
Yeah.
And I had my first kind of, from what I can remember, I might have had critical friends earlier than this if I reflect back, but when I was in Shanghai working for a larger company, I had a friend of mine who's now a member of the Adult Learning Hub, thankfully. But him and I were studying very similar subjects. So we were both working full-time and studying our respective degrees part-time. And so he was like, hey, we should meet up on a regular basis, have lunch, chat about our research. I thought that's a great idea. And so we became critical friends quite naturally, not intentionally, but just because we had similar research interests and similar schedules, we could meet fairly often. And it was really, a critical friendship really, the purpose of it, I think, is to not only get better at what we do, but how we do it. So for us being educators of adults and trainers and facilitators, we would just ask each other sort of critically reflective questions, to say, hey, why did you do it this way? Or, what does the research say about a particular approach to training? And, giving feedback to each other, help and support, or being like a sounding board to say, hey, I see what you did there with your learner, or I see what you did there when you were writing about this particular subject. And to give some, affirmation, to give some encouragement, but also honest feedback. But it's done within the context of a relationship, helpful sort of, friendship where you have each other's best interest. Yeah. And so, I've got another critical friend now who we go for walks with on a regular basis through Richmond Park, and we give each other feedback on different projects that we're working on.
Yeah, so perhaps another benefit of the Adult Learning Hub is, finding that critical friend.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So you asked me about, the benefits for my members. I think, within the Adult Learning Hub, even though my members work in hugely diverse contexts, even though there is that kind of diversity in our hubbers, as we're calling ourselves, we are all finding ourselves in this new world of work, as I said, and, that requires us to share experience, to be agile, to check with each other that what we're doing is consistent in other contexts, as far as, working online, being creative in the activities that we do with our adult learners, and also to have, like a sounding board, critical friendship, where you can kind of have banter with each other, and banter that you can't maybe have with your colleagues.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe I need that. I need to do it. So the Adult Learning Hub is it's app based. So is it available on like iPhone or Android?
Yeah, so it's available on Android devices and iOS systems. So we use a platform called Mighty Networks. And the Adult Learning Hub is customized with our branding and our logo, and it's an exclusive space that members can download, and they log into the Adult Learning Hub through the Mighty Networks platform. And the reason I chose that platform actually is because it's already customized for membership. So members can message each other, they can post their own events, they can post their own content, they can be curators themselves. We've got a number of different offerings, and it's ad-free as well. With social media and everything these days, everyone is just shouting for your attention. And the platform is nice because it's a quiet space. And anyone who kind of dives into the app immediately, I feel our focus is just that much more sharp, because we are all educators of adults wanting to be more confident.
There's less distractions, and perhaps there's still pictures of kittens and stuff like that, but
Well, one of our members went paragliding the other day, and I messaged him and I said, okay, post pictures of your paragliding in Spain or it didn't happen, and he did.
So it's still friendly, it's not like super formal.
No, exactly. And we leverage informal learning in the hub. So that's my approach with our members. I'm not about courses, or that might be in the future. We might offer qualifications and courses, but because informal learning, I read in research actually that 70 to 90% of our learning is informal.
Okay.
And so in the hub, I leverage that. So we have discussions, we've got critically reflective questions, we have a calendar of activities that's meant to kind of spur on conversations and collaboration with other members. So it's primarily informal learning.
And what's the favorite thing? What's the favorite thing about what you do to you? Like, what's the favorite aspect of your role?
Giving people a sense of belonging, helping them achieve what's important to them, and connecting them with like-minded people. That's more than one.
That was very deep.
I thought about that, and actually, that's why I love what I do. My members' results are important to me, and I believe that's achieved through community.
And how do they feed that back to you? Is it through the forum, through the app? Like they will sort of say, oh, I tried this approach, I got this from Fred or whatever, and it worked really well. Like, is that how they would?
Sometimes it's informally. I usually elicit feedback from my members on a regular basis, but sometimes they will just outrightly send me a message in the hub to say, hey, after our Wednesday water cooler this past week, which is like our members meeting twice a month, she said, I was able to go back to my client and better articulate why I do the activities that I do, why they're important for adult learners. And it helped her kind of articulate herself better in a proposal. So like, we're having outcomes, like my members are having outcomes that they never anticipated, but because of their membership in the hub and regularly contributing their stories, experiences, and ideas with a framework around it through our kind of monthly themes, they're having better outcomes for not only themselves, but their clients and their students. And it's really wonderful. It's a wonderful community. I feel so proud actually to be a part of it. I know that I'm the creator and I don't want to be like, hey, join the Adult Learning Hub, but
no,
it's a wonderful space.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful space. Yeah. People join.
Like more members will make the place more diverse, and it will increase the activity. And you should shout about it. About it. Tell them.
And what's brilliant as well is that some peer-to-peer learning networks can be so random and so haphazard, and we see public activity on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. And I don't want to knock those public groups. I don't want to knock those, because there's a lot of good learning, a lot of informal learning that can happen in public spaces, public free spaces. But in the hub, I have a specific idea in mind when it comes to upskilling my members, giving them the skills, the knowledge, the awareness that they need.
What are what's the most common themes or the most common things that they struggle with?
Well, I think nowadays, obviously, in our new way of working, I think working with older adults online is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So that sort of digital skills gap is very apparent nowadays, now more than ever.
Yeah.
You know, as older adults are learning digital skills, and we're not just talking about like our grandmas who are using FaceTime in their living rooms. This is not, that's part of it. That is part of it. But we're also seeing like evidence of like people in the kind of C-suite or people who are in higher leadership positions in companies who are also 65 plus, also needing skills, digital skills. Yeah. And they find themselves being in positions where it's like, oh my God, all of my employees, you know how to use Zoom, they know how to use Teams. Yeah. And yet I find myself struggling as a 65 plus person, also needing skills. Yeah.
Hopefully like this message will reassure them and you. Okay. Now this is not a great message to give, but I've already spoken with Miles Berry. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he sort of wrote the computing curriculum for the UK in a previous episode.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, we talked about how children coming up now, because schools have focused so much on computer science over the past 6 to 7 years, that they don't have general IT skills, information technology skills. And also because of the proliferation of tablets and touchscreens and mobile phones, people don't know how to find apps on the desktop computer or even on a laptop. They don't know where the start button is. They don't know how to use a mouse. You know, and that is a problem that we see having people coming up from high school into college. So it's almost like you know, people my age were kind of lucky that we got both, like that we managed to get IT and get that computer science knowledge on top of that.
Yes.
But yeah, there's like people older than me kind of struggle and people younger than me struggle as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I think people in our generation were very lucky to be able to leverage those different types of learning. But now I think with COVID, it's just massively,
it's highlighted it.
It's reinforced the fact that there is this massive digital skills gap. So that's a topic that we often talk about in the Adult Learning Hub, because yes, while digital skills are important for us as educators of adults, we kind of are looking critically at why those digital skills are important and what we can do to help address some of those disparities that we see. So that's a challenge. Another one also is sustaining our practice long-term. Because we've had to learn at such a quick rate, because we've had to be incredibly agile over the last few years, sometimes it can be exhausting. We're learning at an exponential rate.
Yeah, how to avoid burnout is
exactly
something that, you know, like how to, there's so many new things to learn. It's like you're taking all of this information in and you're dealing with your own personal life pressures.
And we're spending all day on a computer screen.
Yeah, you become completely worn out, don't you, after a while? I do. I get very forgetful, and sometimes it gets to the point with me where I'm worried that there's something wrong with me, like I can't recall names or anything like that. And
I know.
I say to my wife, I go like, am I okay? Like, you know, and she's like, yeah, you're fine, you're overworked, you're tired or stressed or something.
And you know, I read do you know James Clear? Do you know his book about atomic habits?
I know that title, but
amazing book. And he talks about, you know, building better habits for ourselves. And there's one quote that he has about, you know, we don't fall to our bad habits, but this that are behind them, something to that effect. So it's like when we're trying to exercise 3 times a week, exercising in and of itself, it's okay, we can do that. But because we sleep in late or we don't set out our workout gear the night before right beside our bed, that's the reason that we fail or don't take on new habits. And so Patrick, I don't know why I was just mentioning that.
Well, Patrick,
I lose my train of thought.
Patrick said that you know, if because since the new year started, Patrick Grossman and I, we kind of since Christmas when he came on the show, we've been became fast friends, and so since the 1st of January, every day we've done one rep. So like every day we've done the number of repetitions for fitness of that day. So today is excellent. The 24th. So been doing like 24 push-ups, 24 sit-ups, or 24 dumbbell raises or chest presses. So and then every day, like we are each other's accountability buddies. So like I message him every morning and I just go 24. Like, so it's, today I sent him the 24 logo, from the TV show.
Yes.
And then there was a Bruno Mars song, 24 Carat something or other.
Oh yeah.
So I sent him that as well. And then he's like, yeah, man, how you feeling? Let's go. We're revving each other up. But he said that if whatever it is, the new habit that you're trying to build is not within 20 seconds of where you are, you ain't going to build it. So like, if it's too much effort, if you have to get changed and go somewhere, or you have to wear like a specific thing or have a specific piece of equipment, you're not going to do it. So you got to make it simple to start off with. And mine's just having the barbell like right next to where I wake up.
And that's exactly what it is. It's having the structures around you to help support, building that good habit. My member Joyce, who you had on the show, her and I are doing this 6-minute diary every day. So you can get it on Amazon. It's called the 6-minute diary. And it's a gratitude sort of practice. And it's got a very specific framework in mind. So you have 3 minutes with yourself in the morning and 3 minutes with yourself at night. And you write down what you're thankful for, a positive, encouraging statement for the day, and then how you're going to make the day great. And then in the evening, it's like, okay, what are you thankful for? What did you achieve today? And what's one way you're going to improve? And so her and I are holding each other accountable in that practice.
Accountability buddies.
Exactly. And what's nice, because we're both members in the Adult Learning Hub, is that there's a context around that. It's not just gratitude as a practice itself, but it's like, all right, how can we now transform that and take that into our classrooms, into our ability to be better educators and facilitors? So
ours is kind of similar, because the thing that ties us together is we're both doing an MBA together.
Excellent.
So that's
great.
So we're both doing the Power MBA with the Power Business School.
I've seen that.
I think we're both we're both ambassadors as well. So
excellent.
So we just kind of we hit it off, and so that's what keeps us going. So
there's power in that, isn't it? Like two like-minded people coming together, friends, to hold each other accountable.
Brothers from different mothers. That's all.
Love it. Yeah. Sisters from other misters.
Yeah, sisters from
my
different
case.
Misters. Yeah, exactly. So
brilliant.
We're kind of we're coming towards the end of your show. So perhaps we could end it on, what is your top strategy for success?
My top strategy for success. I feel like I'm still on the way.
Yeah.
To being successful, whatever that is.
You look successful. You sound successful. So.
Well, maybe I put out that image to people. But actually, when I think about it, success, I think for me, is doing the things that are important to me. It's striving to be authentic, to be like, I want to be kind of consistent across the board, both personally and professionally. When someone sees me in a professional context, whether I'm, facilitating training, or I'm working with my members, or I'm in a meeting, I want to be that same person as I am with my friends and my family. Of course, I don't want to be unprofessional by giving too much information about something or whatever. But yeah, I think for me, success is about being your authentic self and doing what you feel is important to you. And for me, at this stage in life, success is about connecting global adult educators and giving them more confidence in a new world of work that we all find ourselves in. And because I, for the longest time, wanted a community of peers that I could connect with, I'm so excited to now have a structure in place to be able to facilitate that. And I can participate, even as I'm the creator of the hub, I'm also a member too, and I can benefit from it as well, which is really cool.
I think that's the most exciting thing, that like, you know, you found this niche, you found this need, this problem domain, and you said, look, this is something that I really, really want, but nobody's fulfilling it. And then you went and you made it happen. Like that's brilliant.
And we see so much has exploded in the world of online learning in the last couple of years. I mean, it is completely skyrocketed, all the resources that are out there now. And even for educators of adults, there's some wonderful resources out there, both free and paid for, like people who are offering courses on how to better teach adults online, which is absolutely brilliant. But I guess the differentiating part about the Adult Learning Hub is that we achieve those outcomes through community, through peer-to-peer learning with a structured framework in mind.
So if somebody wanted to join the Adult Learning Hub, what would be the best way for them to do that? Do they need to download the app first, or have you got a website? But you know, how can they get hold of you?
So they go to the adultlearninghub.com, and I have a beautiful pink button that says become a member, and they just have to click on it, and it will take them to our landing page where they can select a package that works for them. And in the UK, the price of a monthly membership is basically 2 coffees a month.
Bargain.
Yeah. And you get so much more. You get like basically coffee with like-minded peers. You build your confidence, no matter how long you've been in the industry for. And you get regular meetups with like-minded people and a calendar of really cool events. So I think it's a bargain. I think it's an absolute steal. And
I will when I put this out, I will overlay that over the part where you're talking. So
brilliant.
Yeah, I'll put it up there so that people can see it.
Amazing.
Also, I'll make sure that the link to the Adult Learning Hub and to the apps for both iOS and Android are underneath this video as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you're part of that community or you want to be part of that community, just scroll down underneath this video and the links will be there. But whilst you're doing that, subscribe. Yeah, give me a like.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, Paul, this was brilliant.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time and thanks for coming on. I learned a lot about it, and happy to have you like come back on again. Maybe you and Joyce together. That would be the first time that I have like 2 guests at once. If you want to do that, like maybe you can sync up with Joyce and find out when's good for both of you, and come back on. Awesome. We'll talk again about education and adult education.
Love it. That was such a stimulating discussion. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
No worries. I'm just going to, the view. There we go. Okay, so people can see us both now. Yeah, so virtual hug. Yay, virtual hug.
Yay!
Yeah, no worries. Thanks so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate that you've given up a portion of your day to come on here and to talk to me about this fantastic group, the Adult Learning Hub, that you've invented, and that you've made this beautiful place for people to get together and share all these resources. So yeah, thank you so much for telling us all about it today.
Hey, it's all good. I just love connecting with people who are like-minded and who you can have a good banter with. I mean, that's what it's about. Everyone loves a good banter. Yeah. I love it.
Don't tell the husband or wife. Like we're going to be divorcees soon. No, I'm joking.
Okay. That was awesome.
All right.
So is the interview done now? Are we done? Are we
still going? It's still recording. 1 second. And 3, 2.